Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. All right, well, we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome, everyone, to our webinar. My name is Austin Hollifield, and today I'm happy to introduce you to Pete Blank, who is an author, speaker, and has worked with Disney for a long time, specifically Disney University, and he's here today to share how we can add some Disney magic to our government organization. So with that, Pete, why don't you take it away?
Absolutely. Thanks, Austin. And thanks to Raina and the whole team at SGR. Happy Webinar Wednesday, everybody. If you're on the East Coast, you're probably maybe having some lunch, enjoying something. If you're over on the Pacific, you're like, why am I up at 9 o'clock in the morning to listen to this goofball? But in any event, we're glad you're here. So many of you are kind of logging in right now, and that's fantastic. Couple things as we get started. I'm going to be using a program called Slido. So this is a way that we can do interactive polls. We can have some fun as we go. I want to thank Raina. She's put it in the chat. So it's slido.com or sli.do. You don't have to download anything. I don't think it's going to track your every spending dollar. It's just one of those free polling things. And again, something you can use if you're leading staff meetings or if you're leading organizations or training or things like that. This is a fun thing that people can use. So if you happen to have two screens like me, just open up a second screen, open up something else. And our code word today is magic. So where it says hashtag, you just put in magic. If you don't have two screens, no biggie. Just grab your phone. All right, go to slido.com or slid.o. They've got both of them. And open that up and put in, again, you don't got to download anything. This is totally optional, but it'll make this more engaging. It'll make it more fun. Again, keep you interested and figure out, lets me know a little bit about where everybody's coming from. So again, the hashtag you put in there is magic. And as the polls come up, we'll kind of go through that. So let's practice. If you've got this loaded, open up your phone or your thing on Slido and you should see it says, what one word comes to mind when you hear Disney? So when you hear Disney, what's the one word to you that kind of comes to mind? And again, the neat thing about this, I guess, web app, whatever you want to call it, it's free again. So that's fun. And the way that this word cloud works is whatever people vote for the most, or if there's multiple words, those are the ones that are bigger. So I'm seeing a lot of stuff. I'm seeing fun. I'm seeing Mickey. I'm seeing happiness. Thank you for the $, whoever put that in. I just got back from Disney. I went down for research this past weekend from Wednesday through Sunday. And again, they're doing a great job as far as cleanliness. We'll talk about that today as far as their processes. I always put a caveat out there. I always ask people if they like Disney or not, but I don't think you would have signed up for this webinar if you weren't interested in this topic. So I'm assuming most of my people are a little bit interested in Disney, maybe like Disney. Laura, thank you. If you can't get the Slido to work on yours, please use the chat box. Yeah, y'all can use the chat box, put stuff in there. Absolutely. Glad to have it. So it looks like fun is the big one. We got some joy. We got some marathon runners on there. Good positivity, happy, warm, all that kind of stuff. Wouldn't you love people to say that about your city or about your agency or about your department or about your location? Again, I worked there for about 13 years, everywhere from the Magic Kingdom to the studios. I worked at Dixie Landings back then when it's now called Port Orleans. I was in a management program there, was a Bell Services manager, and I finished my last 5 or 6 years. I was at the Disney University, worked for the college internship, which is closed right now because of COVID. We hope to bring the college internships back soon, and of course, their new higher orientation program. But you are my people. Let's not forget where I love. I'm a local government worker too. I'm a local government worker too. So I have a full-time job. I'm a training manager at the Personnel Board of Jefferson County. So we do leadership development, soft skills training, all of that for about 7,000 local government employees here in Jefferson County, Alabama, which includes Birmingham and all the surrounding cities. So again, you can imagine I'm trying to take some of my Disney knowledge from 13 years ago or 25 years ago, I don't know when it was, and then bring it back into local government. And there's been some things easier, some things harder, and they'll never be aligned perfectly. But that's what I kind of want to do today, is kind of share some of this with you. I don't care if you're in police, fire, admin, city manager, public works, city clerk, streets and sanitation, anything that you do in local government, you can add a little Disney magic to. And the big picture reason, people moving in, better schools, your tax base, all of these things. And that's always been the biggest struggle for me working in local government and being a monopoly, and some of these employees saying things like, well, they've got to come to us to get our license tags. Well, they have to come to us to get their business license. So what does it matter if we're courteous or not? There's no other game in town. So having to talk to them about the idea that the housing, people to come, the schools, people on Facebook saying how they had a bad customer service experience. And as the world is moving these days, especially in the United States, people are moving all over the place. And so they're going to search out your city on Facebook and on Twitter. And if people are writing things like, this is the worst city hall ever, people don't respond, then they're not going to move, which is less people and less tax base and school. So again, there's a business rationale for excellent Disney service to be added to your thing. So while we can't cover 55 ways today, we are going to go really fast through just 5 of them, the 5 that I think align most to local government. We'll add time at the end for question and answers. Austin will pop back in depending on how long I rant. But if you have questions as we go, throw them in the chat box, throw them in the Q&A box. I've got both of them open. It doesn't matter. We can stop and talk about those as we go. So let's have some fun. Everybody, I can't see you, but put your Mickey ears up. Everybody do this. If you're at work right now, do this and then look around at your coworkers and they'll say, what are you doing? And you're like, I'm in a webinar. I'm learning about leadership. And they'll say, no, you're an idiot. So that's okay. So let's get going. All right. Number one, make employee development a top priority. I've always believed this, but working at Disney, it was drilled into me. And it's so important that we do this. Again, this is an older gentleman who works at It's a Small World. We as leaders don't want to look at this person and go, I'm sure he doesn't want to be developed. I'm sure he's just here till retirement. I'm sure he's just wrapping it up. We have no idea unless we coach, talk to, develop, give feedback. Same thing with this cast member who I took a picture of working at Aladdin's Magic Carpets. Notice her 2-finger Disney point, by the way. Oh, let me go ahead. I think I have access to the annotate tool. So let me get my spotlight over. Oh, look at that. Woo, 2-finger Disney point. So you got to appreciate that. But she probably wants to move up. Oh, she probably wants to be promoted. She probably let's get her in a management training program. Well, be careful till you talk to her and coach and develop. Maybe she doesn't. So again, we want to be careful just to assume that people want to move up and people want to get promoted and people want to do all of these things. If they want to be developed and they have that passion for it, then yes, we want to do that. Things I learned at Disney University, I've tried to bring on in to where I work now, but here's 3 quick things. 3 quick things that I want to share. And how can you align these with what you have, whether you've got a smaller city, a larger agency, maybe 50 up to 500, 5,000 employees. Let me tell you how Disney did it. Number 1, they had a program called Conversations With. And what they would do is they would bring in executives. They would bring in the senior vice presidents and they would bring them into Disney University. Now it's probably virtual. And they would say, they're going to do a Q&A for an hour with anybody. There can be somebody from marketing, somebody from finance in the audience. There could be somebody who works custodial, somebody who just scoops popcorn, a cast member who works in outdoor foods. And they're going to just talk about Disney and the careers and all these things and just be transparent and be transparent. Can your mayors, if your mayors have employee town halls or if your directors have employee what if they ask me tough questions? Well, what if they put me on the spot? You want to create a transparent organization and develop your employees and all that. Conversations With is the high level. Career Insights at Disney was where an employee like myself would just get together for an hour, book a classroom, do a session, and talk about their career insights. It's kind of a play on words. It's you've got your career insights of what you learned, but also your career is in sight. Because at Disney, it's a lattice work. Same thing kind of in government. I've got a friend of mine who started out in public works, and she saw that there was nowhere for her to progress there because the leadership team was kind of in place and wasn't going anywhere. So she said, I heard there's a lot of room for growth in the police department. So she left public works, took the police test and the exam and the physical fitness, and now she's moved all the way up to lieutenant, where she reports right to the chief. She's added all this value, and she needs to host what I call a career insight, which is telling people there's a million different ways. Like, I would talk about how I worked in a theme park, and then I went to resorts, and then I networked, and then I volunteered for this. And then you need to have your high performing employees share career journeys with people who want to learn about it, not about that person, but about their journey, so that they know that if I stay here long enough, I can move around, I can go up. How did you get there? All that kind of stuff. And then the last one Disney does is called Spotlight On. And what Spotlight On is, it's about a specific job. It's about a specific job. So if you want to learn about guest relations, there's 3 people on a panel that'll talk about the ins and outs and the dirtiness and the fun and the magic and the not so magic of that job. If you want to get a job in marketing, but you're working in a theme park, so how do I get into the marketing department? We'll bring in 3 marketing people, spotlight on marketing jobs, and they'll sit there and do a panel. Now, again, with virtual and with different things, and you can create videos and you can do all these different things that you want to do this. But the point is, let's develop our employees. Disney has a great program called cross-utilization, where they take employees and you can cross-utilize them because they want to learn a different thing. So maybe I'm working in a resort, but it's really busy during the summertime. So Space Mountain will say, hey, can you come and work the queue line at Space Mountain for a few hours? And then what happens is, if you pick one of these shifts up, you get recognized with a pin. So there's all these pins that are made that you participated in cross-use. So here's an example that I've thrown out a couple times and has never gotten any traction here. We have one of the largest HBCU football games in the country held in Birmingham, Alabama, every year. It's called the Classic, and it's between Alabama State, Alabama A&M. Well, it's busy. People come flooding in from all over the state. It's a week-long cookout. It's fun. It's a huge party. And they use police officers a lot of time to direct traffic and do all this stuff. Well, you could cross-utilize that. Why do the police officers have to be out there directing traffic when they can do other things? If people want to learn about the business, can you train somebody to come in and work this greeting area or do this, get people to do stuff? And this is hard in government because we have this thing that's called working out of class. And you can't work somebody out of class because then they'll file a grievance and all that. We don't want those people anyways, y'all. We want the ones who want to learn and grow and develop and say, work me out of class. I don't care. I just want to learn something so I can add to my toolkit and be better. Now, we got traditional training classes at the personnel board. These are all of our standard classes where we try and develop people on how to be good managers and how to build your skill set and how to lead people. And we do these all the time. And hopefully you have something similar in your city where people can get developed through a traditional adult learning, corporate university, whatever you want to kind of get those soft skills. In fact, this was on LinkedIn last week. And Beth Galletti, she's the senior VP of HR for Amazon. And here's what she says at the bottom. She suggests people looking for work find roles that keep them learning. For me, I've been most satisfied in my career by always being in an environment where I'm continuously learning. These people you're hiring now, if you want to retain them, I don't care what their generation is. Can I go to a conference? Can I get LinkedIn Learning? Do you have training classes for me? How do I develop and get better? And I know with the pandemic, our budgets have been cut. And I know with the pandemic, conferences are out. And I know all this, but we can't stand back and just say, well, we can't do anything. You can't learn or develop for this next year. So let's do one more of these. If you're just joining us and joined us late, Slido is the website, slido.com. The code word is magic. So here's your next question. Thank you, Rana, for getting that in there. How important is your own professional development? 10 is, if I don't get developed professionally and learn and all that, then I'm not. 5 is, I'm close to retirement. It doesn't matter. Maybe if I get developed, if I don't, it's okay. And 1 is, listen, I want to come to work. I want to do my job and I want to go home. I don't need to learn about new things and new people. Just let me input my files and kind of be done. So take a look here again, as this is coming in, you're seeing a lot of 7, 8s, 9s, and 10s. You're not going to see this. So here's my point. If this is important to you, it's important to your employees. If this is important to you, it's important to your peers. So if we all think that professional development is important, then let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater and say that we just can't do it over the next few years. So fight to keep employee development dollars in your budget. I know it's the first thing cut. Make sure that you do that. Find ways to partner. Are there sister cities, or like, is there an area where you say, well, we want to bring in this person to talk to the fire department, but we can't afford it? Well, can we bring 3 city fire departments together? Can we send, can people go to conferences if they present papers, so they can go as long as they present something? How can we partner with maybe the local zoo or the local this, where they'll sponsor, us coming in and doing something and our employees learning more, whatever. There's all kinds of ways that you can partner to do this. Again, if you don't have a corporate university, don't worry about it. It's not that big a deal. It's not a building or a floor. It's just the idea that you all have to be learning and utilize your internal talent. You've got people who want to be cross-shoot and learn. You've got people who want to do career insights. You've got people who want to share information. So you have a small HR department of 1. Pete, I'm the city clerk. I'm the department. I don't have time to do all this. You've got high performers who, if you went to somebody and said, would you mind leading a class on how to make a good LinkedIn profile? They'd go, yeah, I'd love to. I nail that. Absolutely. Or maybe it's going to be somebody who, hey, do you mind stepping up and talking about how you move from this to this to this? Yeah. Ask your high performers. Ask your high performers to do this. All right. All right. The next one, I know it says number 13. I'm just going along with the chapters in the book. Don't mind my soft sell. Soft Cell. I believe Tainted Love was sung by Soft Cell, but spelled differently. Okay. Place the right employees into the right jobs for the right reasons. This was big at Disney. Disney, Southwest Airlines, Ritz-Carlton, hire for attitude and train for skill. That's what they do. Now, I'm not talking about, Southwest pilots where you're like, I've got a great attitude, let me fly, and I'm talking about, gate agents and baggage handlers. And at Disney, no one comes into Disney and says, I've been scooping popcorn for 30 years. Scoop popcorn at Six Flags, scoop popcorn at Magic Mountain, scoop popcorn at so-and-so. No, how's your attitude? Do you like the Disney company? Are you a team player? Can you bond? Can you work outside? Do you like, okay, now I'll train you to run the Dumbo attraction. I'll train you to do outside food. That's how it should work. You get the right people in. In government, we do it backwards. We hire for the skill because you passed the test or whatever it was. And then we call HR and say, can you train the attitude? We call someone, this person has all the qualifications, but they're a moron. And so we need to figure out how we can flip that a little bit. Again, Disney's really big on getting you right into what's called the culture and getting the right person into the right job for the right reasons. Listen, I'm a manager too, and I've been a manager for years. And I know what happens when you say, like, I just need a body. I just need a body. I need someone. We haven't filled this rec in 3 months. People are working overtime. If they're breathing, I want them. That is short-term thinking, y'all. We can't do it. You got to get the right person at the right job at the right time. Just taking pictures at Disney. Oh, I know how to take pictures. I've got a Nikon camera and all of that. But do you know how to engage people? Can you work outside? Can you be fun? What about custodial people? Do we expect them to have good personalities? All they're doing is cleaning up the bathrooms and doing all that. Of course, Disney rebranded the custodial team to be called Custodial Guest Services. Because here's the information. Here's the example. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I love her. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Now, she's about to go clean up throw up after that from some kid after Space Mountain. But at the beginning, when people are coming into the park, do you want to be outside? No, I just want to, the reason I got into custodial is not to talk to people. I don't like people. Well, you're the wrong culture. So again, think about your culture. You've got a lower turnover when your culture is great than you do if you've got a low culture, where 50% of people will leave. And SHRM gives us all these numbers, y'all. SHRM talks about if we don't get the right person to the right job, it's $4,000 just to get somebody trained and hired and tested and all these things. And filling the executive positions in your cities are even more, your directors and your deputy directors, and maybe your non-merit system employees and all that. And they come in and they don't fit, they got to leave, you got to rehire and get a job. This is expensive stuff, y'all. This is expensive. So, and it takes a long time to fill these positions. In fact, we just started in Jefferson County and in the personnel board where I work for positions that are director level or higher. It used to be just an interview. Now it's a full day immersion. It's a full day immersion. You have to come into our location, go into a testing room. We're going to give you an inbox with a bunch of things you have to accomplish today. We're going to have drop-ins throughout the day where the county commissioner knocks on your door and says, hey, we've got a problem. We're going to have an angry customer come and see you. Now you've got to prioritize all the things throughout the day. That's how you can learn culture fit. Anybody in an interview can just say, yeah, I work good under pressure. Well, let's see what happens. Now, does that cost more? Absolutely. Because you've got to get volunteers and role players and things like that. But again, the front end versus the back end. Where are you going to, they're going to get it one way or the other. Felicia, great point. If you do run Disney marathons, you'll see all these people arriving for work and greeting the runners at 4 a.m. Yeah, because it's part of the culture. It's part of the expectation. It's all of that. I did a webinar for SGR about this time last year. And if you attended it, it was all about employee engagement. And so I spent a lot of time talking about the employee engagement. That's part of the right fit role too. If somebody loves their organization, they'll work anywhere. They don't care. If someone loves their job, accounting, public works, parks and rec, they want to be focused on that area. That's what their degree is and they love it. Or maybe someone works here because they love their boss and then you transfer their boss out and now they're a miserable. Well, can you get them to follow the leader sort of thing? And maybe they love their team members. And again, go back. I think this is back in their vault or their file. You can watch this. There's again, employee engagement is part of the right fit person, the right fit role. So let's be transparent. I'm not going to send this out to your supervisors or anything like that. What percent of your employees, in your opinion, are in a right fit role? When you look around your department, when you look around your agency, somebody shouldn't be working the front desk. They shouldn't be the first person answering the phone calls. Some people that are in your police or fire that should not be, somebody in finance and you're like, how'd they get into finance? Okay, hold on a second. I got to divide 21 by 7. Let me pull that up on my phone. And you're like, oh my, you're in finance? We're serious. You're in a wrong fit role. So right fit role is super important at Disney, should be super important for us. In government. These are great numbers. These are great numbers to see. I'm glad. That means that you're doing training right, you're doing hiring right, you're doing recruiting and retention right. That 5% though, at the bottom, you need to take a good hard look at your processes. Take a good hard look and figure out, why are we just placing people randomly just to get bodies? Because that's going to affect everything down the line. So here's your takeaways for this one. And I don't have the answer for this, so please don't put this in the chat. Find a way to legally hire for fit. I know that we've got minimum qualifications in government and we've got rules and regulations and policies and certifications and procedures. And everybody brings that to the table and goes, I'm the right person. And you want to stand back and go, but I know your team of 4 that you're going to be working with. And I can just tell that you're not going to fit. And I'm not talking race, gender, any type of ism that's out there. I'm talking about just fitting in the culture. Like whether it's open culture, or team culture, volunteer culture, fun culture. How can you legally do that? Now, again, can you talk to your employee department, your employee relations department, maybe your legal department, maybe somebody? How can we do personality assessments without getting into trouble? Can we do predictive index without getting into trouble? Can we add some type of thing like, I don't have the answer because everything is different and you may not be able to do this, but you can cut off the learning curve if you get the fit right. I don't mind getting somebody and training them a little longer on a piece of machinery in public works if they're a good fit, as opposed to somebody who gets the machines in public works and they're knocking it out, but they're also leaving a wake of bodies behind them because they're rude and they don't care about the city, so find a way to move folks around or move them out. Okay. And again, this is a leadership thing. Some of you may not be in management roles and you can't do this. If you're a manager and you're letting poor performers stay, that's on you. That's on you. We've got to, Pete, it's so hard to fire somebody in government. It's like teacher tenure. No, it's not. No, it's not. Not if you document, not if you set up expectations, not if you follow all the basic laws and rules and regulations, you can do that. And another big thing that Disney taught me, and I think we have to do here in government, y'all, we need to revisit our interviewing processes frequently. Hey, we got an opening for admin assistant 2. Well, we haven't had an opening for admin assistant 2 in 5 years. Well, let me get out the folder that has the interview questions on it. All right. No, we need to how are we doing it? Just because you did it that way, in fact, things are changing so fast, y'all. How do we go from this interview to a panel interview? Some of you had to learn how to do Zoom interviews, and what questions do we need to ask and how? So don't just assume that we're doing interviewing the same. Everything is changing post-pandemic, and we need to be on the forefront of this. What does interviewing look like in your organization? So, all right, number 3, we're rolling along here. In the chat, again, go ahead and type going good so far, or I appreciate it, or whatever. Give me a little something in the chat so that we know everybody's still out there and kind of what's happening. Let me talk to this anonymous person real quick through a question out there. As government organizations, we are notoriously slow to change. How do you suggest speeding up the needed changes we need to make in government agencies? Unfortunately, y'all, this starts at the top. Okay. I work in a department with 3 or 4 or 5 hierarchies out there, you know, kind of above me, and we are slow to change. And I'm going to put it on us because this is what I've seen. I've seen that employees are yearning to change. They are okay to try new processes. And it tends to be a little more work. And I don't know whether we're understaffed. I don't know if it's because we're not, but a lot of this change is simple. I mean, there's an app for everything. If you're still using file cabinets, you know, we have laws, rules, regulations. And there's, by the way, I don't normally prep another book, but I just finished a book club. I'm sorry, a mastermind group with this book called No Ego. No Ego. And Cy Wakeman, she wrote this book about how leaders can cut the cost of workplace drama. We have so many people who every time change comes up, they're, oh, it's awful, and this is that, and why do we have to do this? And I think that slows down the process. The whole book, No Ego, talks to us about how we can minimize the ego, get people to go through and get fired up. So it's a long answer to a short question, but anonymous, I think we're our own worst enemy. I think, this is me, Speed's opinion, there's a lot of great employees that work in local government, a lot of us. I had the stereotypes everybody else had when I started working for local government. I thought, how am I going to go from Disney to government? I'm sure they're lazy. I'm sure they don't care. That's why they're working in government. And I found the opposite. Government employees are smart and excited and engaged, and the process just comes over them and crushes them with all these rules and just brings them, and they're like, well, I guess I'll just be like everybody else. You know, you just kind of just get sucked down. So we're our own worst enemy when it comes to speed. We need to figure out different ways to do that. And part of that is just to kind of get out of our own way. So, all right, here we go. Let's talk about recognition real quick. How are you on recognition? Disney's big on recognition. Now, you got to be careful with this because different cultures have different things. Disney sells recognition as part of the Disney difference. They are so excited to say, if you work with the company for 1 year, you get a pin. And believe it or not, people delay their retirement. Well, I've only been here 22 years. I was thinking of retiring, but I want to get the Tinkerbell pin and the Tinkerbell thing here. So I'm going to delay my retirement. Now, we don't want anybody delaying retirement just to ride out the clock. But if you're still going to be a high performer and do things, so, you know, there's this formal thing that's out there, and Disney uses it as a recruiting tool and a retention tool. And if you stay long enough, you'll get your Tinkerbell and you'll get your Jiminy Cricket and kind of all this stuff. So that's good. But the problem is managers don't know how to do this, y'all. You're a great policeman, you get promoted to sergeant. You're a great finance person, you get promoted to finance manager. And now you're told, lead, develop, coach, recognize, inspire. And you're like, how am I going to, no one tell. Disney hands you a box. I know it sounds simple. You know, they hand you as a manager, here's your recognition box. And inside it is a book and a calendar, and it tells you how to recognize employees, and it gives you tips based on what your organization is and how to do day-to-day recognition, how to welcome people. There's a study out there which has been debunked by a lot of people, but it's called the Losada line, Losada. And if one of you can type that in the chat for me, Austin, Losada line. Again, it's not based on a lot of research, but it says that for every negative comment somebody gets, they need at least 2.9 positive comments to overcome them and work towards being a high-performing team. Whereas
Will you spell that again for me, Pete? Sorry about that.
Sure, Losada, Losada, the Losada line. And again, don't use it in a presentation. Don't say this is based on, because people have debunked it. But I like the whole concept, which is we tend to bring people into our offices and say, need to work on this. When's the last time any of you got called into an office with a supervisor who said, hey, I want to just call you in here just to say, you nailed it. You nailed it. And you're like, I thought you were calling me. We don't do this. So anytime you do constructive, you have to also do at least 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 positive things that are out there as well to kind of motivate and inspire people. So in this little orange thing, there's these little cards that are, put your city logos on them, put little things on them like this. If you've got a history around your organization, if you've got a founding people or founding stories, put that in there with like different quotes. Maybe you got some formal things that kind of go in there. So a lot of managers go, give me a sticky note. I'll go stick it on somebody's desk and says, nice job today. What if we gave you something around a safety thing so that if people are, this is a Disney safety begins with me, so around a whole safety program. So you can do all these things. Now, here's a big takeaway for today. I think y'all are going to like this one. How are you on peer-to-peer recognition? Because the supervisors can't always see everything, y'all. The supervisors are working, you're being yelled at by somebody, you're out in a meeting and you're in this meeting and you're in that meeting. So you don't see all the good things that are happening. Let's create a peer-to-peer recognition process where coworkers can recognize each other when they see them doing good work. So at Disney, it was called the Great Service Fanatic, and it was back in the days of paper. And these were all over the locations. Every property had these, people kept them in their pockets, things like that. And let's use Eric West. So I'm working outside at Space Mountain with Eric, and Eric is just getting hammered by somebody because Eric's job is to stand there and go, yes, the wait time from here is 2 hours. Yes, yeah, 2 hour wait for Space Mountain from right here. Yes, thank you. I'm sorry, 2 hour wait for Space Mountain. Yeah, from up to, actually it's 2 hours and 5 minutes now. Sorry, 2:05 for, yeah, it's crazy. And so someone comes up and just starts, I wanted to ride this ride today and we have to leave and you've ruined my vacation, and someone's just hammering him. And Eric's being professional and he's giving it out and doing all these things and just being very, no one saw that except for me as coworker over here. I need to grab this card. I need to fill this out, put his name on there, say, great job. The way that you did not blow up at that person, because people appreciate that. I may not even know this person. Maybe I work in food and beverage and saw it, but I'm going to fill it out and hand it to them. Then the card rips off. One part goes into the manager's pile. One part goes into a thing, and they do drawings for prizes and all that. When I got to local government, I didn't want to do the paper thing. So here's our intranet where I work at the personnel board. And again, I know this is, some of you don't have a web development team, but there's apps that kind of do the same thing. So what we did was we created this thing called Send a Star. Send a Star, which again is part of our logo, is the star. So what this says is, let me see if I can go forward with my annotate on. I cannot. All right, let's do this. All right, so you can see here, all 65 people in our organization are in the drop-down arrow. So if I see LaTanya doing something great, I just go to the intranet and I type it in. Hey, I saw that person do this, or hey, I saw you carry in a bunch of extra, or hey, and I send it. Well, what happens is the system sends an email right to her. So on the left side, an email goes to her. Congratulations, Pete Blank says you did a great job doing this. The one on the right goes to her supervisor. So the supervisor gets an email now that says, hey, Pete Blank recognized LaTanya because she did a fantastic job. So she got a star. And then you'll notice here, we've got all of our people's names and blacked out, of course, but we've got all their things here. And it's got how many stars you have. This is on the intranet on our homepage. Look at this guy down here. Look at Roselle. If anybody knows why Roselle has so many stars, put it in the chat. If anybody knows why Roselle has so many stars, put it in the chat. It's a very easy answer. You got 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2. He works for Pete Blank. No, no, not his attitude, Jeff. Look at his title. His name. He works in IT. He works in IT. So he always gets, thanks for getting my computer back and running. Hey, thanks for, I was offered to me, so IT. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, good job there. Good job, Jed. Jed nailed it. Works in IT. Now, here's the deal. We got the typical government pushback early on from some of the team that I was trying to develop this with. Pete, people are going to take advantage of this. People are going to put things like, great job for coming in today. Okay, now you send me one. I like the way your dress looks on you today. Okay, now you send me one. Great smile. Okay, did that happen at first? Yes. And you know what we did? As the admin person, I went through and pulled all those down. Delete, delete, delete. And once people figured out that that doesn't fly, they stopped doing it and they start doing it for real. So again, don't let the negative thoughts, people will take advantage of it and all that stuff. Don't let the negative thoughts take away from a very good idea. All right, let's see real quick. Pat, great question. What if a senior manager compliments the work of someone that his supervisor is not pleased with? Should the senior manager step outside of the authority structure? Man, okay. That's a tough one. Because this happens a lot. This could happen when an employee knows a performance appraisal is coming up and they don't got a good relationship with their supervisor and is just a horrible employee, but the one day they get to take the car and drive and drop things off, they interact with you, Pat, and you're like, this is the nicest person. They dropped it off and carried it in and did all these things. So you want to recognize them, but now that person in the back goes, don't recognize that they are. And so it creates this sort of very dangerous thing. The answer to your second question is I don't ever recommend going outside of the authority structure, especially in hierarchical organizations. I would probably get with the supervisor first and say, hey, I want to let you know, Tom did a great job. I'm thinking about recognizing him with a star or a peer-to-peer. Would that be appropriate? And if they go, no, we've got him on a plan to move him out. He's been a low performer for 4 years. We're very close to getting him transferred. And if you have to be, there's a whole lot of story behind there. So I would be very careful with that. But that's a good question, because again, it all depends on your organization. So let me throw these up here real quick as we are rolling along. Make sure your employees know about formal recognition programs. A lot of times they don't even know. I didn't know we had an annual this. I didn't know that we got longevity pay. I didn't know that we had blah, blah, blah. No one, that's a surprise. Why are we not sharing these as part of the Disney difference, as part of your city difference? These are the things that we do. A lot of you have gone to maybe remote work or hybrid work. Some of you have not, but is that now part of your recognition structure? That's why we talk about the total compensation benefits. That's why we don't just do salary. Disney salaries for frontline employees, cast members are very low. They are low. And so to try and say, but health insurance, free parking, free Disney admission, it's part of the total thing. So again, be sharing about the things. I love this one. Have managers share best practices on informal recognition. And that's as simple as getting a group together once a quarter and saying, hey, police, fire, public works, parks and rec, admin, finance, who wants to volunteer to be on this committee? You'll meet once a quarter for an hour and everybody share how, because what happens is the police department recognizes this way, but the fire department does this. And station 1 does this, but station 2 does this. And now you've got this whole, oh, I wish I worked for this leader. So we want to try and be consistent and ask employees what they want, as the wants are going to change. Don't make a big recognition thing around going to the movies, because they may be closing your movie theaters pretty soon. Don't make a big thing about hot dogs and hamburgers when you've got a majority of vegans on your team. So again, work through the employees and find out what they want. Let's go to Slido. And make this actionable. Which of these, based on what I talked about, just for recognition, which of these do you think that you can add, improve, or enhance right away, when this webinar is over? Do you want to take a good look at your formal recognition program and see if we're marketing it enough? Do you want to create more informal programs and let people know how to have a box and how to hand out cards? Do you want to get with your IT team and say, hey, I saw this thing that the personnel board did. It's about recognizing employees. Can we do something like that? Do you want to standardize something, because everybody does it differently? and you're hearing complaints about how come I wasn't invited to this? Or do you want to try and do a peer-to-peer thing? Hey, peer-to-peer sounds good, you know, and we'll market it and inspire, but recognition as a general rule needs to happen in government. And again, needs to be done on a regular, frequent basis. Informal programs is up there. Thank you. Roundtables is a good idea. Maybe just do it once, and maybe it can be in a Zoom. But wouldn't you love to hear what other, this could be cross city. This could be cross agency. You know, let's stop trying to be better. Let's all work. Let's get government working together. Wouldn't it be great if government was lumped in and people said government is working, government is good? And I know people look at federal and then look at state and then look at local and lump us all in together. Let's figure out how we can do some of these good things. All right, rocking and rolling. Thank you all. Two more. We've got to fix the processes, y'all. We've got to fix the processes. Disney is the king of processes, and they are the king of reacting to processes. They're the king of putting things in place at a moment's notice. Real quick story, not this past trip, but a trip before there, I was at Disney's Hollywood Studios. So I was there, and the wind and the rain started to come. We were going to take the new Skyliner, the brand new Skyliner. We were going to take it over to the Riviera Resort. It's the only way to get to the Riviera Resort. They don't have a bus. They only have the Skyliner because it's about a 5-minute Skyliner away. So they save money and are more efficient. Well, the wind is coming and the rain is coming, and all of a sudden the Skyliner shuts down. Because they're not going to run it during the wind and all this kind of stuff. So I go over to the big board, and there's the big board that says buses. There's no bus for Riviera. And I'm like, what are we going to do? Well, within seconds, a Disney cast member walks over while I'm still standing there and slides out one of the signs, and now Riviera, bus stop 3. And she says, Riviera, folks, you're right down there. They got a bus right away. He was pulling in right there. And I was like, that's just, like, it's so awesome. You know, it doesn't always work that way, but they've thought ahead of time. They've planned, they've looked for ways to enhance the process if A happens, or if B happens, or if C happens. They don't wait till this happens and goes, well, we didn't think about the bus for Riviera. We didn't know about, so you've got to look for ways to enhance your processes. I know we do bulletin boards, y'all, and I know we have to post things, and I know we've got a process for posting, but do we have a process for taking stuff down? Do we have a process for, it's no one's job to remove it. We just got to get it up there legally. Now come on. I showed this picture to as a presentation for a city here in Jefferson County that I was doing. And this general services gentleman comes up. He's a manager. He's like, I got to tell you what my team did. He goes, I was so embarrassed. He goes, the city manager called and said, this bulletin board's in the main lobby. It's horizontal. It's landscape. He wanted it portrait, because he thought it would look better and fill the wall space being portrait. So we called general services. So general services team came out, unscrewed it horizontally, turned it portrait wise, and hung it back up, and then left with all the stuff still on it. So he got a call saying, your guys did the job, but they didn't quite finish up. Every single piece of paper was hanging sideways, because no, I don't have to do that. They just said to move it. They didn't say to, so these processes, he's like, we had some coaching on critical thinking skills and common sense skills and kind of stuff like that. So again, the process for Disney is very simple: safety, courtesy, show, and efficiency. These are the quality standards. They're now called the keys. And these are things, again, that you make decisions with safety first, then courtesy, then show, then efficiency. That's how you help change a process or update a process or do anything like that. Now, in addition, they just added inclusion as one of the 5 keys. Just genius, because again, I may make a decision, but is it inclusive of different areas and agencies and people and guests and all that kind of stuff? So again, I know you all have mission statements and vision statements and value statements. That's great. But do your employees know a process? What do you think about? Because if safety is always first, they'll help fix a process based on safety. But if you say the customer is always right, the citizen is always right, no matter what, that's what the mayor says, the citizen's always right. It's going to change the way we do our processes. Because again, and by the way, that's a bad way to, don't do that. It's a bad way to lead, because the citizen is not always right. But you have to make sure that you are keeping all these in mind. So a couple quick photos, again, of the change to the process that Disney had to do so quick, taking temperature checks, putting up all these signage, making sure people come in are safe. The fruit didn't used to be wrapped. So the process has changed now. So you've got to go ahead and do that. It used to be grab a knife, grab a fork, grab a spoon. This is all pre-COVID. Now you had to go change the process and get these single serve things. So people weren't touching these whole ideas. This is bad show for Disney. This is bad show. So when you think about safety, courtesy, show, the way it looks and efficiency, this is bad. Disney trains its custodial cast members. If the things get stuck at the top, hit them and pull them down, because no one wants to see the trash can full of trash at Disney. But post-COVID, we had to change the process and retrain everybody. Those are now zip tied. Those are up because people don't want to touch stuff right now. So we had to change the process. Now, courtesy is bad because, show is bad. Safety is good because no one's touching it. I guess courtesy is good because it's open to drop it in. The show is damaged because now people are seeing trash at Disney, but it doesn't matter because safety trumps everything else. Jose Lewis, is it good to leave posted information and posters when it's a safety announcement on 365 days to view them and remind us? It depends. Listen, there are psychological studies on signage that I've kind of looked up. People don't read them. You spend all this money on electronic signs and sticky notes and put stuff up, and people think about all the HR laws and the EEOC things that you have, all of they got to be up year round, year round, year round. I don't mind a safety poster or something being up, but change it out. Change the logo every month, change the logo, change the picture, change it, flip it, do something with them because you want to keep them up, but after a while it becomes white noise. It just becomes part. So I'm not thinking about it as much as if something looks different or it's hung in a different place or moved around, that'll help with that. So good question. Yes, leave those things up, but you're going to have to do some studies on how long people's attention span is and rotation and moving those things around. That's a good one. Again, the whole bus process had to change. The pin trading had to change. Oh, this is a big one, y'all. Not only do we have to show safety, you all have to market safety. It's not just enough to do it. You have to tell people you're doing it. If you make a process change, you have to tell the customers, tell the citizens, tell people. Disney has come out and said, we're double cleaning all the rooms. Of course they are. Why wouldn't they for COVID? But in the room is this graphic that shows them, here's all the things that we did. So even if people come in and go, I don't feel like it, we're telling you and showing you. Here's another one based on courtesy. This again is pre-COVID. This was spring of 2020. But look how crowded it is between Peter Pan and Small World. It's packed. It's the most crowded area in the theme park because of the strollers and the people and all that. People always complain about how crowded it is here. So during busy times, Disney pays its cast members to stand there and hold a sign that says, keep right. All right, that's your shift for today until the crowds go down. And there's also one right here. And there's also one right here. Now, could they just stick them in holes in the ground and save on the labor? Of course. But then someone's going to walk into it, and then someone's going to file a lawsuit that says, I didn't see that was there. Now, these cast members are also not yelling at the people on the left because people on the left aren't doing it. Maybe they're from England. Maybe they don't care. Maybe they didn't see the sign, whatever. It says keep right. It's a moron. No, they're not doing that. They're just we're doing everything we can to prove to people that we've heard your issue and we're trying to resolve it. Same thing holds true in government. As long as you tell people, we hear your issue around parking. We hear your issue around potholes. We hear your issue around this, and we're trying everything we can to solve it. That's all they care about. At least people look at this and go, well, at least Disney's trying. They know at least they're trying. That's what you want. So it's not just about doing something, it's about marketing it and telling people that you're doing it. Because in today's society, people want you to tell, you have to almost spoon feed them to that. So again, be very careful from a process perspective. If you tape signs on doors, make sure that you've got a process of who's going to spell check or who's going to do some of these things. Is this Lynn Park, Lynn, or is it Lynn Park, Linn? And so now we've ruined our credibility. They hate that I show this slide, by the way. Birmingham City Council, the city of Birmingham hosts the NCAA track and field national championships. That's a huge thing to tweet out. That's a big thing, except if the person tweeting stuff out doesn't know how to use there, and there correctly. Because now I've lost the excitement of it and I'm just mocking them for, who's in charge of. So again, right person, right job, right time. Also, what's your process around all of these things? Disney blast out emails as part of their process to get you excited. Should you have a process that when people come to their first city council meeting, they get little stickers that say first city council meeting? Or if a kid comes to City Hall, that's your first time in City Hall, here, bam, here's it. I mean, you wouldn't hit them that hard, but bam, here's a sticker. What are some of these processes that can help with safety, courtesy, show, and efficiency as you're going through there? So these are your process problems: ordering, storing, reports, meetings. Your meeting process, your hiring process, your social media process, the way you communicate. Everybody think right now of the one process, where you work stinks. It needs to be fixed. And in 3 words or less, put it in Slido. In 3 words, what is one process where you are? Maybe it's the hiring, maybe it's new hire training, maybe it's reports, maybe it's form X721. Maybe what is the one process that you're like, we have to fix this because the employees complain about it, the citizens complain about it. This is just not where it's got to get triplicate and signed off by 3 people and all this kind of stuff. So let's see what kind of process. New hire onboarding. Yeah, no doubt. Timesheets. Oh my word, the timesheet process. If we're still doing handwritten timesheets. Department communication process. Do we use Slack? Do we use email? Do we use text? Who gets the message? Who doesn't get the message? Yeah. Who gets to travel to an island? I'm not sure what that is, but it sounds exciting. So what's the process? Who gets what part? Your parking places. Well, the most seniority gets it unless they're a friend of the mayor or the city council. So then they get a good spot, but really no one can park here unless it's Saturday. Oh my word, the process is just flawed. And yes, employee processes can be flawed and we can fight through that, but y'all be careful about the process around customers. If the citizens are saying this is a flawed process, why can't I pay this bill online? Why do and you're like, well, because you have to come in. We can't. Do y'all know we're getting COVID shots right now? Here's the process where I am in Alabama. They don't check a photo ID. They don't check anything. They want the vaccines out so much that, we went to get our first shot recently and I had my photo ID. No photo ID. Fill out this form. Boom. You're in, you're out. So we probably need to know who's getting it. And then we need to document it. And let's send them No, this is such a national emergency. The process is show up, write your name down. You could write down Mickey Mouse. Boom, Mickey Mouse got a shot. At least that's the way it is here. So again, this is things you have to think about, y'all. Look at all these processes that need to be fixed. We have to do that. All right, we're getting short on time and I apologize. Let's do one more. Finish up strong. I'm gonna do this one fast. All right. An employee's first day, y'all, is their most important day. An employee's first day is their most important day. When people start a new job, they go home that night and their spouse, boyfriend, girlfriend, parent, significant other says, how was your first day? And there's going to be 2 answers. It was awesome. I made the right choice. Or it's going to be, it was a train wreck. They didn't know I was coming. My desk wasn't ready. No one was expecting me. I sat by myself during lunch. They made me sit in a room and fill out HR paperwork for 4 hours and click and watch an e-learning before I could even go. What are we doing, y'all? What are we doing with our first day? It is not as important to get all these forms and documents filled out on day 1 as it is to introduce them to the culture and let them meet people and let the leader share expectations and have the mayor give them a video or take them to lunch or whatever it may be. We're so government focused on getting this process up. Okay, business cards, EEOC form, workplace harassment form, good. Do you have your uniform? Good. Here's your desk, keys, radio, good. See you soon. No, that can happen on day 2. It can happen later in day 1. Disney is big on knowing that the first day at Disneyland and the first day at Walt Disney World is all about an experience. Now, again, police and fire looks a little different because people have gone through academies and done things and know their people. And some of you say, Pete, we only hire somebody once a year. We're a small city. So when someone comes in, it's once a year. I don't care. So have something. Well, that's not good efficiency to have someone sit in the classroom. You wouldn't have them sit in the classroom by themselves with one person. You'd have a mentor. You'd have a person who wants to share, who loves working there the most, that's driving them around. What can you do for the first day experience to make it the most magical thing you possibly can. So again, take a good hard look at your current day one orientation program and plus it up. That's a Walt Disney phrase, plus it up, make it better. Because again, the bad employees are going to get to them soon. The bad employees, the disengaged employees are going to latch onto them. Hey, it's your first day, huh? You're going to hate it here. You know, they're going to get to them. We need to get to them first on day one and tell them how they've made the right choice. Make employee development a top priority, place the right employees in the right jobs for the right reasons, work on your recognition program, improve your processes where you can, and focus on day one. Those are Disney things, but they work in local government and they will absolutely work for you. Hey, real quick, 30 seconds. I know, Austin, you're about to come on. I know we want to do Q&A, but I do want to plug my organization. Because of COVID, we have done, John Deere let you drive a tractor the first day. Let's go. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's so cool. Please follow us on Facebook, either your individual account or your city account at Personnel Board of Jefferson County. We've started going live a lot around lunchtime, and we're on Central Time. We do live things called trainer talks. Tomorrow I'm doing a trainer talk, and myself and two of my co-trainers are going to be talking for 30 minutes about networking skills and how to network during COVID and why network's so important. 2 weeks ago, we did one on how to give feedback and good feedback challenges. So it's informal. People can chat in the Facebook chat as we go. We answer questions, we laugh, we have a good time. And we also do like little lunchtime learning blasts. So if you follow Personnel Board of Jefferson County, we want other government employers to get better as well. We don't want to just stick to Jefferson County. If we can help you be a better government employee, we want to do that. So please follow us on Facebook and those notifications will pop up. And finally, just about me, I've got a couple books. I've got a nighttime live stream on LinkedIn. It's a live podcast. Me and Brian, my former Disney buddy, do leadership and laughs. So we do about an hour on Wednesday nights. I've got an Alexa flash briefing. I'm on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is my favorite place. So if you all can go to LinkedIn, you can do that. And finally, the last thing is I do videos every 2 or 3 weeks called Pete's Points. Pete's Points. And it's a video that comes right to your email. You're like, Pete, I don't have time to do Facebook. I don't have time for this. I don't have time for that. But if I send you a video email that's 2 minutes long, that's motivational, inspirational, process driven, whatever, I can do that. So if you want to be on that email list, just text my name to 66866. Text Pete to 66866. I don't sell your information. I don't give it to anybody. I just shoot out emails and you can unsubscribe at any time. It's one every 2 weeks with my ugly mug telling you something about Disney or government or motivation or inspiration or whatever it may be. Thank you, Keith. Keith's my buddy. He loves Pete's Points. So I appreciate you. So, all right. No time for the video. Austin, you're my man. Rena, I appreciate you as well. I'll shut my pie hole for the last 3 minutes. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much, Pete. This was amazing. I almost hate to pick out 1 or 2 favorite things just because all rolled in there. It wasn't nuggets. It was an avalanche. Thank you.
Sorry.
Sorry about that. Excellent. No, I love it. Lately, we've been talking a lot kind of in my work with burnout and helping local governments deal with burnout. And so your practical ideas for peer recognition and up in the game there, man, I am definitely going to take some of those and share the love with that. That was really excellent.
Awesome. Thank you.
I don't know am I still here? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're still here. I just stopped sharing my screen.
Okay.
I wanted to see your big, beautiful face bigger on my screen.
Oh, so. Here it is. Here. I was afraid I'd just like hit the exit button. So I don't see any new questions.
Yeah, you just had the one.
But thank you so much, everyone. I'm going to put into the chat box a link to Amazon for Pete's book, his newest book. And then also recently I was privileged and honored to get to publish an interview with Pete. So if y'all are hungry for more, check that out as well at SGR's podcast.
Yep, and I love government employees, y'all. We don't get the recognition we deserve. So thanks for taking an hour out of your day to be a lifelong learner. Let's go out there and make our cities, our departments, our agencies as best as they can be, because our citizens deserve it. So thank you all.